Right now it is 7:17 and we are getting ready to film episode 2 of In the Cut.
AyoWhit. I'm falling out of line with the wrong one. You stuck up in my head like a melody. I still feel like it's something you aren't telling me. Trust issues got me anxious, PTS.
I started in like 6th grade just making beats, so I was probably like 12, and it was just kind of like something fun to do. Remember, I followed this kid on Instagram. He was older than me. He was in high school, and he would always post like videos of him just making beats on this program. And I was like afraid to ask him what program it was because I was just watching him make beats. And finally, I asked him what it was. And that Christmas, I asked for FL Studio. I think it was 10 at the time. I asked for it, got it, and then just did it for fun for like 5 years.
Really. In high school, right?
Yeah, like throughout high school, it was kind of like on and off. Like it was something just kind of cool to do for my friends. And they'd come over, I'd play on beats. I wasn't really working with artists. I was more just making beats for like myself.
For fun?
Yeah.
So who's the first artist you worked with? Like actual?
The first person to ever record on one of my beats was actually Jonah Rain.
Was it? It was Jonah Rain.
Yeah.
It was Jonah Rain.
I DM'd him and I was like, yo, I got some beats for you, bro. And he didn't like respond for a little bit during the day.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm gonna let you send me beats because my boy Zach Kokus followed you. He's like, but if your beats are ass, he's like, I'm blocking you. I was like, all right. So I think the first beat I sent him, he got on it, and he put it out. Yeah.
You just dropped a new song with him.
Yeah,
was him and,
Be a Pac-Man.
Yeah. How'd that go? How'd that all start off? Because I know you produced now what 4 or 5 songs for me, or am I shooting too hard?
No, I think you're like 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
So how'd that come about? How has that relationship grown, and how has that, aspired to what it is today?
Yeah, I mean, I love working with him because he kind of understands that for what I do and like being a producer, I work with so many different people. So, like for a long time, I was only working with Kevin, and then I started to expand and kind of make different sounds, working with other people. So I got a little bit more of a full plate, and Kevin understands that too. But it was cool that Jonah was kind of just as understanding. It's like he knows I can't send him beats every day.
Right.
Because if I sat down and made beats for him all the time, I wouldn't be able to make anything for anybody else. So. Yeah, so he was the first guy that actually got on a beat. Actually, before Evan even got on a beat of mine.
So Jonah was the first.
Yeah, he was the first guy.
Well, he was Kevin. Did he start rapping in high school, or was it a little? I know he started.
Yeah, Jonah was like early. Like he was actually like one of the first Raleigh artists that I like, kind of tied to Raleigh. Like you think about Raleigh, you think about some people.
Right.
But he was like one of the first guys that I realized that was like actually in the scene. Which is pretty cool. And he put the song out like a week later. Like he recorded on it and like put it out. And that, to me, I was like, dang, I didn't know it happened that fast. Which I like learned, it's usually never that fast, but that's the luxury of being an independent artist. You kind of control when you put stuff out.
How do you feel about the whole independency? Because I mean, me personally, I know it's more of a benefit than being, signed to a label. I'm not in the music industry, but now when it comes to getting your name out there, obviously the label's prone to do that.
Right.
It depends who you sign with.
Yeah.
But how do you feel towards that in regards to, like, how do you think it's helped your career, or has it hindered it, or has it really taken any effect yet at all?
I mean, for me it's a little different being a producer. I mean, now that I'm kind of stepping more into the artist scene, like I'm starting to put music out under my actual name on Spotify and Apple like that. So
yeah.
I'll start to see more of that perspective now. But as a producer, it's definitely better to be independent because a lot of times if a guy goes and signs with a label, you get tied down to that label, and then then you're like only making beats for certain artists.
Right.
And if they're not in your label, you're usually signing a contract that's saying you owe the label 20 to 30 beats a week or some crazy number like that. But for me, it's definitely better to be independent. Now for artists, there's two stories. Like nowadays with TikTok, an independent artist could be just as big,
Right.
streaming wise as a major artist. To my understanding, I think for getting on like shows and it's really just capital. I mean, when you go with the label, you're gonna have money. Even if you don't have money in your deal,
right.
Like even if you only sign up like $100,000, like if you're doing well, they're gonna be able to pull more money in for you. But I think just being independent, you have to really make sure that every single way you can make money from your music.
Right.
Like a lot of independent artists only think that streaming is the only way you can make money. but that's like just the
Well,
tip of the
I know
iceberg,
streaming,
bro.
it's like pennies, right? I mean, I don't think you make
Yeah,
much.
it's legit pennies.
Yeah.
But you know, somebody like Kevin and like you get up to that 100,000 monthly listener mark, and you're making a decent
That's
income.
huge, bro.
Yeah,
That's huge for him.
yeah. So
Especially that.
he's up at 500 now. So it's like he's making a decent income from it.
Yeah.
Just from streaming, right? And the publishing money is a whole different story. And you know, I think that's the biggest thing for independent artists is making sure you do the research and surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable of the industry and not people that are trying to get over on you. But yeah, there's definitely two stories. Like if you want to go play at Coachella or if you want to play at Rolling Loud, you're probably going to need a label backing you to go get you on that bill.
Which kind of sucks.
It does.
I mean, realistically, that's pretty shitty in the sense of like you're working your ass off for what? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's still like, you know, you're doing A, B, and C to get here, and then you're rewarded with what? Nothing, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It seems like from what I've like experienced
Yeah.
and just research that I've done, there's been more bad deals than good deals,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't hear about the bad deals.
No, you don't.
And that, you know, there's a reason for that. It's
Right.
like they're bad, so
Right.
they flopped.
Right.
They stopped getting money put into them, and then they dropped off. So you don't hear about that. You hear about the guys that did sign huge deals, right? And like that are the biggest artists in the world.
Yeah.
But now like a big thing right now is actually like selling your catalog. So I don't know if you saw, but Justin Bieber just sold a portion of his catalog.
Yeah, did you see that?
Jay-Z sold a portion of his catalogs, and like they're selling it for like 200 mil.
So what are they
bro.
selling it for?
So they're selling it to investors and people that are basically they're like media buying. So just having like ownership, because music is will last forever. Like even if you
Of course.
die,
Even if you die,
your
sure.
estate makes money for you, right? So music is probably one of the best investments because you can't really lose. Like if you own it for zero, you're never gonna lose money.
Yeah.
Right. Like and then if you own it for 30 grand and you're able and you know how to market stuff, you're gonna make a lot of money.
Right.
Because music is crazy, just has crazy shock value and
Right, well, it's never gonna go anywhere.
yeah.
I mean, realistically, it's not, music is, it's never gonna disappear, like you said.
Right, and it's not market dependable. So if the Nasdaq drops, music is not gonna drop, right?
Right.
Like people are always gonna listen to music. Music is what connects everybody. So it's a universal language.
Absolutely.
But I think you're gonna see more of that in the next coming years, like 10 years. People are just gonna be buying music and having ownership of music.
Just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Just another way to make money.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, did you always see yourself producing, or was this kind of something that just happened for you and fell in your lap?
I don't think I wanted to see myself as like an actual music producer for a long time because I was playing football.
Yeah.
I think I was kind of neglecting it.
Yeah. What was
Because
the
of,
reason for the election?
I think just because of just how invested I was.
Yeah.
And it was the only thing I really knew, right? Like growing up, I only played sports.
Yeah.
Played football and baseball, but really football was always the main
we met
sport.
baseball.
Yeah.
Hey, we met at Roseville Middle, right?
Yeah. Tearing it up on the diamond.
Dude, I'll never forget that one video. I don't know if you have it anymore. We're on the bus. Remember Landon? Dude, I never.
I
fucking
actually
forget
don't
that
think I don't still have that video. That was probably on my
That
old
video
phone.
was funny as fuck. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were sitting next to each other on the bus. I don't know why Landon was pissed. Whatever the fuck he was. Dude, you're like, oh, Landon, how are you? He's like, hey, good. I was like, bro, what the fuck is he talking about? That was
Those
funny.
were good times.
That was. But yeah, back on my first statement. So, what made you neglect it? Was it football?
Yeah, I mean, and I found out later, like being in college, and how much of a full-time job college football was, and trying to do music at the same time. I mean, it was like
It's tough.
I was putting such a just beating on myself.
Yeah.
Like I was going to the studio till like 2 a.m., 2:30. I'd get back to my house at 3. I'd have to wake up at 5:30 for a morning run. So I was getting like 2 hours of sleep, and to compete at that level, you have to be just at the top of your game. And
Yeah.
somebody like me, like I'm not extremely gifted naturally. Like I definitely work super hard physically to get to be able to compete at that level. But I honestly just fell behind, and that honestly is probably what led to my injuries because I was trying to be you know, I was trying to be great at two things at one time. It's
not a thing.
It's impossible.
It is impossible.
I don't like to say things are impossible, but that's one thing that is super tough.
Right. So the thing is, in your craft, in your line of work, you know, whether it's producing or playing football, you kind of have to be all in. You know, you can't just 50-50, you know. And me knowing the type of guy you are, you're going to be all in regardless, you know. And you just said here, you burn yourself out,
right.
You know, which is understood, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like, what do I need to prioritize? Do I need to put myself first? You know, what do I enjoy more? Now, would you say that you would enjoy producing more than you play football? I mean, I know it's two different things, but in the direction that this is taking you, would you say that you're enjoying this journey more than your football journey? Or is it different?
It's different, but I definitely can find parallels.
Yeah.
Like, you know, football taught me so many life lessons.
Right.
And I think it's a game, you know, that I think a lot of sports teach you stuff, but football is something that's like, football is not really fun in per se, like, you know, getting hit and like getting hurt, and you're always hurt in football. Like, you always feel like you're bruised or you're, you know, you're not always injured, but you're always hurting. And you know, a lot of sports are like that, but
football especially.
It's different, man. In like hockey and boxing, and like you're getting like hit, right? So it's a different type of fun.
Yeah.
And I learned when I got to college, I stopped liking football and I started to love it. Because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be doing it at that level.
Absolutely not.
Because of, you know, it's the commitment that is required. But yeah, I definitely find parallels. Like sometimes, like I get up and I do not feel like making music.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that for a long time, I didn't have other avenues in the creative space, of like, you know, editing videos, you know, thinking about content to make, you know, planning merch and stuff like that, right? If I'm not making music, I'm doing that stuff. But for a long time, if I wasn't making music, I wasn't doing anything, and I was kind of like, I felt kind of shitty when I was doing that.
Yeah.
But it is different. I'd probably say I like producing more because of the impact,
Right.
in my opinion. Like,
You've met a lot of cool people, bro. This opened up a lot of avenues for you.
For sure.
You know, from what I've seen, just from an outsider's perspective. Now, you know, I know you personally, so it's different for me when it comes to, you know, the average Joe Schmo, you know, seeing what you've done.
No pun intended.
Right, no pun intended. No, that was pretty good. It was good to keep myself out of that. But yeah, so, I mean, in the sense of like how far you've taken it, and, you know, I mean, like you said, you never thought you'd be a producer, did you? Well, I mean,
for a long time, bro, it was just something like that I'd spend an hour on a day, you know, and just like do it for fun. It was like a video game. Like, you know, you sit down and play video games, hour, 2 hours. Like, that was just how it was. It was sitting down with something fun to do. You know, the stuff I was making was horrendous. Like, it was like, everyone could agree. I mean, if I played the stuff I used to play for the 4 people in this room or 5 people in this room, that would be like, that's not good. You know, and that's fine. Like, I think that's the cool thing about music too, is like the growth.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because music is so subjective, and it's like,
it is.
It's not something that is agreed upon by everybody.
Correct.
Right? So that's why, like, you know, me and Kevin sometimes do these live streams where we're like rating people's music and we're giving pointers.
I was watching one 2 weeks ago you did?
Yeah. And it's funny, like, you know, and I crack jokes here and there, but I always like remind people, it's like, bro, I could be the only one in the world that thinks this is bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Someone else might think otherwise.
There's a good chance, and I'm probably not the only one, but that's a possibility.
Right.
So it's like, music is something that is,
it's subjective.
Yeah, I mean, it's not truth. You know, it's not like a fact, right? That your music is good or not.
Now, how do you know if something, I mean, is good? For example, because I mean, I'm not tooting you guys' horn, but I mean, you and Kev work together, bro. It's fucking good. Like, it's not like it's absolutely. It's not mid. You know, not even close to mid. And so, how do you, I guess, identify that? Okay, you know, this is a fucking hit. We're putting this out. Is there ever times where you're like, listen to something once, you're like, yo, this is good as hell, and listen to it again and be like, I don't like this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the biggest thing for me and Kevin, and what we kind of found out early, is that when we were trying to make music like other people, like we were trying to sound like other people, we didn't like it. You know, even though we liked those artists, like let's say we like Kid Laroi, we like, you know, Lil Mosey, like those are the people that we were like, or not even Kid Laroi, because we started making music before we knew who he was, but Lil Mosey, right? We started trying to make music like him at the beginning, right? And it was cool, but it just wasn't good because it wasn't us, right? And now a lot of these artists played a part in Kevin's sound and my sound and producing, But once we started making music that was like us, and I think How You Been was probably like the first song that we made, and we were like, this doesn't sound like anybody else. You know, you can maybe find like some things that remind you of an artist, but you can't show me a song that, you know, we were 17. I was 17. He was 18 at the time, or he was 17. We were just super young, like, and I feel like that song was so ahead of its time, and now it's at 5 million plays. Like,
it's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it was an unmarketed song. We put zero money into that song. Like, we just were like, we're just gonna put it out. And I think that honestly kind of catapulted us a little bit creatively.
Yeah.
We saw the response to that, and we kind of got motivated to grow from that. And
you know.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah. To answer your question, I kind of went on a tangent, but I think as an artist, and this is like goes for everybody, when you start making stuff that is unmistakably like yours, like, you know, you make a song, and if I sit down and be like, damn, I don't really know who that sounds like, you know, that's when I think you can start saying like, okay, you know, I'm getting somewhere. And then, you know, from there, you know, you got to keep making music for yourself and put it out, you know, because you're never gonna know if your music's good if you don't put it out.
Right.
You gotta let people hear it, have an opinion on it, and then you grow from there and you learn from it.
How did you find your sound? Was it constant trial and error?
It was during COVID. We'd be in my room for 5 hours at a time, just throwing stuff at the wall.
Yeah.
And just locked in, making beats. Kevin was with me when I was making the music. He was kind of hearing like my side of the creative process, and then I would record him, so I was there helping him with melodies, with lyrics, and just kind of bouncing off of each other. And I think the blend of the two, you know, is what kind of came up with like that, you know, that sound that people say, the quote unquote, like our sound.
It's a different sound.
Yeah, I mean, it's unique.
It is. It's very unique. It's not close to anybody I've ever listened to. Now, I can pick out some artists where there's some similarities, but that's because you guys have inspiration from other people,
right?
Which is understood.
Yeah.
You know, me doing this here, this podcast is obviously inspiration from other people, but I'm trying to make it my own, trying to make it raw, and trying to find what you guys found in the music. You found your niche, you found whatever it was, and you had to find like, okay, this made this good. Let's continue to do this. You know, I mean, in general, you know, just get a bunch of shit thrown at you. You know, say you fall down 7 times, get up 8. I don't know what the fuck that means. You know, like, you know what I mean? You gotta keep trying, and when something sticks, it sticks.
Yeah.
And you guys, I mean, it's stuck, bro, and it's continuing to grow at a rapid pace.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever see yourself in the position you are today? Like, you sit down at night. You know, when did you start taking producing seriously? Was it after football, or was it kind of in between, or?
It honestly was really like whenever I got sent home from college and COVID, and I don't want my story to sound, you know, cliche, because a lot of people are like, oh, COVID, I found out a lot of things, but like,
I mean, I did.
we had nothing but time, you know, so it gave me that opportunity to like really focus on it and that was my biggest spike of talent, I'd say, in producing. Like, I was really making good music at that point.
Yeah.
You know, music that I could hear a bunch of different artists on. Right. You know, I might make a beat for somebody, and like 4 years ago, I might have made a beat specifically for somebody, and only that artist probably could get on it. Right. But now when I sit down and make something, I can hear, you know, 20 to 30 different artists to be able to like get on it.
Now, how did you solidify that within yourself and your brand? How did you take it to that level to where, okay, I'm not going to see just Kevin on this. I'm going to see Kevin. I'm going to see YSB. I'm going to see Deucey Gold, whoever. How did you take that and propel that to see, like I said, not just one artist, but multiple? Was it just different sounds you worked with, or it's like, okay, I'm in my bag kind of thing?
It was actually being in the rooms with artists.
Yeah.
Like, I consider myself an artist, really, at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But I think
you create, you're an artist, no matter what it is.
I think there's a huge gap in the producing community because we have a lot of beat makers.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of producers, and people like the guys that you know about, like Metro Boomin and Pierre, London, you know, Timbaland, Pharrell. Like, those guys were like actual producers, artists, because they were in sessions, they were writing lyrics, they were writing melodies, and they were learning different sounds, right? Like, if I sit in my room all day and I make beats, you know, that's a hustle, right? It's 100% a hustle. It's it's quantity work, right? And I can study sounds, I can listen to different people, but I'm really not going to learn the sound unless I'm in the room with that guy.
Right.
Like YSN Flow, for example, being in a session with him, we clicked immediately. Like we made 5 songs the first session we had, and we dropped Go Go Go. We got like 4 other that.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great song.
That was an awesome record too.
Yeah.
But he wrote that song in 15 minutes, and being in the room with him and seeing him do that, I learned so much. So now when I'm sit down and make beats for him, I know what I'm shooting for.
Right.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing was being in the room, and being an artist, like not just being a beat maker.
Yeah.
Like I don't just make the beat and go sit in the studio and just sit there and and just go to sleep.
Balls, yeah,
right.
whatever.
Like I make the beat. A lot of times I'm either tracking them, I'm tracking the artist, so I'm recording them, or I'm fully involved in the lyric writing or the melody writing, and I'm throwing ideas if they get stuck. And I definitely, there's certain people you can't really jump the gun on, because like when I'm in a session, I want to write the whole song.
Of course.
But there's some people that, I kind of sit back and wait for an invitation. And a lot of artists won't give you that invitation, but I pride myself on being able to read people pretty well in a creative setting.
Huge.
Yeah, which has also set me apart.
How,
yeah, I'd say being in the room was huge.
How have you linked with other artists besides Kevin? Like, how did that start? Just DMs?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram and social media has been
huge.
Has been big for sure. But also just like creating a relationship with artists, like having a friend relationship with guys that I work with, rather than just being all business.
Right.
Like me and Kevin, we grew up together, so that was just kind of
that was natural.
Right. Yeah, so that's how it was. But when I started working with Trill and Eli, and which Trill was connected with Jasper. I was how me and Jasper got connected. I was supposed to DJ a tour that they were doing, and then Jasper had to find out who I was. Right. Jasper actually listened to Kevin, loved Kevin's music, so he found out that I was making the beats, and then I was going to DJ for him, and then we kind of connected from there. I started working with them. Flo was kind of, I was like, my manager was cool with his manager, and we've been kind of connected and kind of working over the phone for a little bit, but that's like,
no, it's not solidified.
It's not, bro. You'll never know if you'll ever get a song with somebody if you're just texting them stuff.
Right.
But yeah, so that was like a manager play, and then kind of got connected with the Babies Camp because Kevin was getting looked at by the Babies label, like 2 years ago. So they had a session, and they were playing all of Kevin's unreleased music, and TG, who was in the Babies Camp, I think, one of my boys. Well, now he is, but in the session he was like, "Who's making these beats?" And then they told him who it was. So then he followed me on Instagram. And we connected that way. So then I've just been connected with them like that. So yeah, and it's just like making relationships with people that you work with, and not just working with them and never checking in on them and just sending them beats. Like a lot of times, people that I work with, I don't if I'm not just randomly sending them beats every day. I'm probably talking to them, seeing what they're on, seeing how they're doing.
Absolutely, it's more than business.
Seeing what type of music they're making in the moment.
Friendship.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna have to drive down to Myrtle Beach every time I need a cut, bro. I'm going crazy.
Yo, don't tell Isaiah that.
I know he's gonna lose me.
Don't tell him.
I've been telling him he needs to get on something like this, bro. This is I love this setting. It's talking while you're getting a haircut is just so natural.
It is so natural. To me. It's so natural. That's
although I grew up going to Great Clips, which is that's criminal.
I would explain the most way.
It's 100%. It's criminal.
It is criminal, dude.
Parents are trying to set me up.
But no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. When being on the wave of, hey, it's more than just business. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
I learned that probably. I mean, I'm gonna sound cheesy as fuck too with COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were on my first podcast. You and Kev. You were on the Joe Pavone show, which I still try and promote to this day because that podcast led me to this and it led me to barbering. And, there's so many things that add up to make me do what I wanted to do. But I try to promote that to so many people. I get asked the question all the time, how do you link with this person? How do you link with that person? Just reach out. Just reach out. Just shoot your shot. Because you never, ever know what the fuck's going to happen. You never fucking know.
Yeah.
So would you say that was your MO, sort of, kind of just, let me just do this, and if they like it, they like it. If not, then whatever, move on to the next?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely listen to people's take on things. So that's super important, not to be stubborn. To be able to you're slow to talk, quick to listen.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when I'm sitting down to make music, I'm not sitting down to make music for people to be like, oh, that beat's fire.
Right.
You know, like I already, like I have confidence and I know that I'm making good stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to accomplish a vision. I'm trying to reach a vision that an artist has for a song most of the time. That's my one thing. Just like people that are just making beats like constantly. It's like, you know, a lot of times people are just sitting down and making beats. They don't even know what they're like sitting down
Of
to
course,
make.
they just make.
Right. And it just and that's cool. And I have nothing against that type of work, but I'm different in that aspect. You know, I'm like
You're
sitting
different
down.
In every aspect. Like I said, I'm not even tooting your own horn, but like you're good. You know,
I appreciate
you're
it.
absolutely right. You're very fucking good, and it's not just within your work. You know, you have to take pride in what you do within anything. You know, and it showed in sports. You know, you were. I mean, we played baseball in middle school. You're one of the best in the team. You know, not just because you were good at baseball, but because you put your all into it. And I'm sure it was the same for football, not the same for producing. But in the sense of like, why wouldn't you put your all into it? You know, why wouldn't you put your all into something that you love?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to put on this podcast. You know, my whole thing that I've been trying to push is lead the youth. You know, I want to get a lot of kids out there, or young gentlemen, young women, whoever, to just go out there and just make shit happen.
Yeah.
How old are you?
20.
21, bro. And when you turn 21?
August.
Okay, so yeah, very soon. So like, the fact is like...
Kind of low broke me right there.
Okay,
That's fine.
That's it.
It's okay.
But you look older than me. That's all that matters.
How you got the beard, bro?
Like
I'm like allergic to facial hair. I can't get it in.
I was gonna text you as we were lining up your beard, but
You should. You could do something. I don't know.
I got enhancements too.
Shade the peach fuzz. It might help it
I'll
come
take
in.
Peach fuzz. It might take a few years.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I try and promote that to a lot of people. Like, just fucking do shit. Like, you just started producing in 2020. You didn't know where it was gonna go. You had no fucking idea. And now look at you. You know, you produce your Karen Powers, which is huge. You produce your Wise Feel. Anybody you produce for is huge. But I want to touch up on you producing recently for Lil Peach.
Yeah.
How, dude? How did that? Was that just DM work, or that was kind of?
So I actually met Peach at a show in Raleigh. It was summer in the Carolinas, the first one they ever did, and Peach was there with Balin, and Peach was on the card, and he had his set, and I think Balin found Kevin or something.
Yeah.
Found his music and liked it, and that's like kind of how we got connected in that sense. But I kind of just introduced myself to Peach and was like, "Hey, bro, I got beats for you. Like, let's work at the show."
Yeah.
And then from there, we built a really good friendship, and that's like a guy. You know, I talk to him frequently and about his career and his next steps and stuff like that. But that was pretty cool. I'm trying to think exactly.
Well,
I remember I heard Peach's music like a year and a half before I met him on a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And I like saved it and bumped it a lot. So that was a pretty cool full circle moment.
Would you say that he was one of the ones that you wanted to produce for like, was that a goal of yours?
I mean, I wouldn't say that was like a goal. Nothing against Peach, but that was just like something that kind of
fell into your lap.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like,
yeah.
You know, I downloaded his music and listened to him, and he was like on playlists of mine, and was always kind of like familiar with this stuff.
Yeah.
But it was interesting how like those stars kind of aligned, just not even me really like trying, right? I just let that happen. I didn't force it. You know, I could have easily like, you know, try to like force my way to get in front of him and, you know, to get in his like bubble. But I thought it was best to kind of keep that, you know, just genuine connection. And whenever we met in person, we just clicked. And so got him up. He actually he stayed at my house for like 4 days.
Yeah.
We filmed my first YouTube video.
Which was huge.
Yeah, that was really cool.
What is that you're doing? What is it?
It's like it's a series called Sessions.
Yeah.
And basically, my goal for it is to have artists come stay with me, or me be like with them for a couple of days, and we just kind of kick it really, and make music. But it's supposed to be more like a laid back thing and more like a genuine thing, like not like going to the studio and being locked in for like 6 hours.
Right.
Like want to get to know them more and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got a goal for that, but that was super cool. We came up and episode turned out fire, and we ended up actually co-releasing the song, which was really cool. That was
cool. That was huge for you too.
Yeah.
You also co-released another song, who I mentioned him earlier. You co-released, was it Sleepless?
Yeah, Ducey. Yeah.
Is that you on the cover?
Yeah, that's me with the mask on.
Yeah, dude. I was gonna ask you that, and when the song first came out, I'm like, I can't tell because you can just see the eyes.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it is.
We had like a point in the video too where we kind of like did like a glitch effect where I was wearing Ducey's outfit and it was me. So like it glitched, came onto me, and then it went back to Ducey in like a split second.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it's in the video. It's pretty cool. But
That's
I
cool.
kind of wanted to do something like that. It's kind of like a little candid moment in the video.
Only you knew that, right? I mean, you and him. Did anybody else know now, or?
I mean, if you see, it's,
Yeah.
you can see it if you like look for it. But
I'm gonna have to look for it. I'm gonna definitely look.
It's whenever he's like looking down at the camera. He's got like his hands on the glass.
Oh,
We switch
yeah.
really
I
quick.
know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
How did you meet Deuce?
Trying to pinpoint exactly how
I
that happened.
fucking watch this.
No, I didn't forget. I'm trying to make sure I get it correct though. It definitely was our first show.
Yeah.
Him and Kevin were connected, and Kevin was looking for openers for our show in Raleigh. And Ducey's from Greenville, North Carolina, so
Yep.
like ECU area. But lived in Raleigh for a long time and was known in that scene. So he was connected with Ducey, asked Ducey to come perform, and I was DJing the whole show. So we got connected like that. We really didn't have any connection before that. I wasn't sending him any beats or anything. And then after that, we clicked to a guy that's turned into one of my really good friends. We work to this day and working on his album right now. So.
Who is it? Can I ask? Whose album is it? It's,
Oh, Ducey.
Oh, it's Ducey.
Yeah,
Oh, you're talking about somebody else.
Oh, no.
Somebody else. Sorry, Deuce.
No, you're good. No, you're good. But yeah, so. But yeah, we met just through the show.
I'll show you in a minute. I'll let you
You're good,
finish.
you're
'Cause
good.
this is towards the end. This is it right here, you know?
All right, yeah, cool.
But yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, met him at the show, and then after that, we got connected. We've been working ever since. Just created that relationship again. You know, it's super important to do that.
He's a good dude. He's a
Yeah,
really good
awesome
dude.
guy.
Shout out to Deuce. But I'm about to show you, bro. I'm about to show you.
Alright.
You can take your hands out. You can hold it, bro. There you go, dude. I'll show you the back too once we turn off these cameras.
Perfect, bro.
Yeah, I did a low to mid. I didn't go too high with it because
Yeah, that's
cut
perfect.
into your hairline. I think it would have been.
Yeah, it's like super long right now. I wanted to keep that length. So.
You want to keep the length, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna let it grow out a little bit more. I'm
Yeah.
sweating, bro.
Yeah, you're like a motherfucker. That's why I'm trying to end this shit. I see sweat.
Oh, that's go crazy.
Yeah, dude, they do go crazy. That's
Yeah,
probably why you're
appreciate it.
sweating. It's bright as hell.
Yeah.
You know how much those were? $80.
I have to invest in
Well,
some.
but shit types of views and shit. But that's it, bro. That's it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir, dude.
It's good stuff.